Let's add our counter twist rig to the left shoulder. Now before getting started, I'd like to point out that the right arm is going to be done slightly different from the left in that the IK target will need to be placed opposite where the target on the left arm is placed. So if we place the target on the left arm behind the arm, that simply means that the target on the right arm will need to be placed in front of the arm. So by the next lesson, we'll take a look at the twist rig on the right side, just so that you're aware of what has changed. But let's say we get started. Now remember, we were going to change the axis order of our shoulder. Let's take a closer look at that. We'll grab our rotate gizmo. Let's make sure it is set to gimbal and move over to our motion panel. Alright, so underneath rotation, we'll go ahead and scroll all the way down. We can see the default is XYZ, but this might not be best. Watch what happens when we rotate down in the Y-axis. Instantly, we run into gimbal lock where the Z and X axes are aligned. So that's going to be problematic for our twist rig. Let's go ahead and choose the second choice, XZY, and take a look at this. Now when we rotate down in our Y-axis, this is very convenient. You can see that the X-axis gives us a really clean twist, and the Z-axis gives us some really nice swinging. So that's going to work out much better than the default XYZ. So that's what we'll use for both shoulders. Great. So now we're ready to get started. We will go in and clone our shoulder. Let's go ahead and rename this to bone_L shoulder twist 01. Great. Let's go ahead and adjust its size. So it's going to be a width and height of 5. I'll also go ahead and copy its name. It'll speed up the time it takes to rename the other objects we'll need. We're ready to create our end object. Let's go ahead and create the nub by going to our bone tools, choosing create end. We'll now go ahead and rename this object. And we'll give it a prefix of BN end. All right. Let's also go in and freeze its transforms. Now we're ready to create our IK goal. We'll go in and grab the root, grab our high IK solver, and connect to our nub. Let's rename this to high IK shoulder twist. All right, now before we go in and create our target object, it'd be a good idea to keep track of the shoulder's rotation just to make sure nothing shifts when it's applied. So in order to do that, we'll go ahead and use a helper. We'll head over to our create panel. Let's go ahead and create a point helper. Once it's been added, we'll Alt-A align this to our nub. All of our settings look good. Let's go ahead and choose OK. And we can use this as our anchor object, but what I'll do is go ahead and clone this once again as a copy. Let's make sure we move this above our shoulder. And now we can go ahead and link to that same bone, the counter twist. Beautiful. Going back to our anchor object, let's go ahead and rename that. So it's going to be PTDRV. Beautiful. All right, we'll go ahead and clone this again. Let's go ahead and rename this to IK TRGT shoulder twist 01. We'll grab our move tool. Let's make sure it's set to local, and let's go ahead and move this back in our Y-axis. Let's also change its display. So instead of box, we'll work with cross as we've done before. All right. So now that that's in place, we can go ahead and take the IK goal and find that target object. So under the motion panel, we'll choose pick. We'll go ahead and grab our new target, and notice nothing has shifted. If we were to go ahead and grab that target and start to move it, it's working properly. Good deal. So we no longer need this object here to keep track of our twist. We'll go ahead and get rid of it. Let's go ahead and take the target and the goal. We'll have those both linked to our anchor object. The anchor object we know gets linked to the shoulder, the main shoulder, and now we'll alt-right click and freeze its transforms. We can do the same for our target and IK goal. We now need to make sure that the anchor is going to be pinned down to our forearm. All right, great. And now we can go ahead and tie the twist axis of our shoulder into the twist axis of our anchor, and then go ahead and make sure to cancel that twist out. So let's go ahead and grab the shoulder. We'll right click and choose wire parameters. That's going to be transform, rotation, 0 Euler, X. And we'll tie that into our helpers, transform, rotation, 0 Euler, X. Remember, we need to set our expression to negative. Let's go ahead and now connect. And let's test this out as we grab the shoulder and start to twist. Notice there's no twisting at all. Beautiful. When we start to rotate up in the y-axis, everything's working just fine. And in the z-axis, let's go ahead and take a look. Beautiful. So it looks like we are good to go here. Just go ahead and just rotate around. We could also start to add some more complex rotations, just kind of twisting this about, just making sure that this will hold. Beautiful. So I'll now use transform to 0 to go ahead and bring our main shoulder back. All right, so once that's finished up, we'll then want to take a look at our layers. So we'll go ahead and grab the IK target, we'll grab the IK goal, and we'll also grab our anchor object and have them stored in the hidden layer. We'll make sure that the nub is also stored in that layer. And our counter twist bone, we know, needs to be stored in the bones layer. And there we have it. All right, so we've set up our counter twist for the left shoulder. Again, in the following lesson, we'll go ahead and take a look at what has changed on the right shoulder before we get right in and start setting up our IK and FK systems.